give out a ton of.
No, they don't. And it just seemed like they had this salary structure or cap within a cap. This was the one Canadian market for sure where we're going to have to do things a little bit different. And Scheifele bought into it. Connor Hellebuck, of course, that ultimately at 8.5, I think, a year and a half ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And then Kyle Connor just comes out and just takes it right to, this is the going market. This is Rantanen. This is Marner. And now it's me. And Winnipeg goes, yep. Like,
for sure.
And
it is. That's the price.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. That doesn't feel like a major change in the organization's kind of mindset or philosophy.
To me, it's like inflation. You know, when you like go to the grocery store and a year later bread is $1 more, your choice is to pay $1 more or not get bread.
Yeah, Doritos cost $9 for 2 bags.
All right, plenty more to dissect on the signing in Winnipeg with Kyle Connor. Let's bring in our first guest. In terms of first time on the show this season, not first ever because he's been on the past. We're lucky to have him. Let's bring in David Amber. Now, you know, we do amazing work here on features. But last year, my favorite feature by Country Mile was on David Amber and the day in the life of David Amber.
Did we do that?
Oh, yeah, we did it.
Sorry, I missed it.
And for those of you that don't have stills right now, this is David. David was answering the door at a hotel, and then they took him in the gym, and these are leg lifts.
I'm embarrassed of my body.
Look at these leg lifts. Oh, here's a closer look at the leg. Oh, look at the calves look amazing. Amazing. And I think push-ups were involved in this feature, David. And then they showed you kind of trying to get Corey Perry to notice you in the hallway. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Hey, no. What was it? No, I've always wanted to ask you, do you combine upper body with lower body?
I do. Kipper, well, let's get on the squat rack. I know you're trying to mock me here, but
I'm not mocking you. No, I'm not.
Yeah, you know what? I'm trying to stay as fit as possible.
Buddy, you look amazing.
Only mentally keeps me sane.
I only do this because I'm incredibly jealous.
Yeah, okay.
That's
what you guys
the only
doing?
reason. How are you?
Good. You guys have a good summer?
So, will you be tested for this season, or are you like the players now where you don't need physical testing anymore to start the season?
Drug testing? Or
No. Are you jacked? Are you ready to go here? Besides, your amazing pecs.
Yeah, and I'm ready to go. I was like Sammy. I was glued to the set last night watching the Jays, and selfishly wanting them to win to sweep away the Yanks, and also very selfishly hoping they'd win so we'd have double our audience tonight for Scotiabank Wednesday Night Hockey. What can you do? It might be friends and family appointment viewing, but it is a really compelling doubleheader tonight in Toronto, Montreal. And there's so many storylines with both these teams. You talked about Winnipeg. We don't have Winnipeg on the air tonight, but we also have Edmonton, Calgary, and really excited to see, Dustin Wolf in his second year, how he's going to perform. And obviously we want to see what's going on with Edmonton, with the newly, minted situation with Connor McDavid. That all quiet down now. So, listen, there's so many good things to see. And of course, we're going to see the Mitch Marner debut with Vegas tonight as well, another game we're keeping an eye on. So there's a lot going on, and let's get right at it. This preseason seems like it's gone on forever, hasn't it?
It's world record length. It is. And yes, thank you for joining us, Dave. Good to see you again, man. So you got Toronto, Montreal to start the season off. That's awfully exciting. I think all of us are looking forward to that. Two teams that both made playoffs and have high expectations going into the year. You are a perennial Canadian team booster, rooting for our Canadian teams. Where do you see Toronto and Montreal compared to their seasons last year heading into this?
Well, Toronto, we have to wait and see. I mean, Mitch Marner is a world-class player, and without him, how is their offense going to go? They were dead last in the league in goals by defensemen last year. They clearly need more from their back end to make up for the loss of Marner. The one thing I'll say, though, and talking to Craig Berube, is this feels a lot more like the type of team he likes to coach. And that's not a knock on Marner. Obviously, he'd love to have superstars there. But, I mean, as you guys just pointed out, they're the biggest team in the NHL, 6'2", 210. Is the average size of a player on their team. Yeah, the biggest team in the NHL. And maybe it just feels a little bit more like that 2019 St. Louis team that didn't have a bunch of superstars. It just had a bunch of blue-collar guys who could go to work. Yes, there's still Matthews and Nylander. And
who are world's superstars?
What's that?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they are superstars. And
Yes.
you're just wondering, so is it dump and chase for like 70%, 80% of the lineup, and then the Nylanders and the Matthews get to kind of east and west it up?
That's that's a great question, and I guess we're going to find out starting tonight. I mean, Craig Berube's been saying it's all about the process. I asked him what would success look like this year, and he says, I don't want to get caught up in going 2 rounds and all that. It's the process that matters, and doing the right things. He says, we do the right things and learn to win games the right way. Come April, come May, those are habits that just happen, and you don't have to worry about meltdowns in the 5th or 7th game or whatever. So, I think for him, he's all about getting guys to play to their limits and do what they're most comfortable doing. They add Roy, they add Joshua, right? Joshua, these are big-bodied guys. These are guys who will do, as you say, Kipper, some dump and chase and bang some bodies around. Their blue line stayed the same, and I think that's actually probably a pretty important thing. If there is a strength on this team, maybe you're going to say now, instead of saying it's the offensive top side of the Leafs, you might say it's the defense and the goaltending. We'll see what happens with Joseph Wall, but clearly if Stolars and Wall can come out and do what they did last year and both be really formidable, the Leafs might win games in a different way than they've won in the past. There won't be as many track meets and 5-4 games, but there'll be a lot more 3-2 and 2-1 games, and that might suit Craig Berube and his staff pretty well. So that's the storyline with the Leafs. We don't know what to expect because very few times you see a superstar leave a team in this fashion, really still at the peak of his prime. So what they're going to look like without Mitch Marner, we find out starting tonight. And if you listen to what the Leafs are saying, they feel there's more depth there and maybe some more versatility up and down the lineup, and that's going to have to be their strength.
You're watching and listening to David Amber, studio host of the NHL on Sportsnet, Hockey Night in Canada as well. Doubleheader, of course. We go right into the Oilers and the Calgary Flames. So let's just start with what you think that the Connor McDavid scenario has been put to bed, at least for the next couple of years. What we think, just your overall thoughts on the ripple effect that it will have moving forward here for the Oilers, and then ultimately what you thought of the deal and how underwhelming you found it.
Well, I mean, I think it speaks volumes to what Connor McDavid's all about. I know you guys talked about this on your show. I mean, he wants to win. He has shown his commitment to win, and he has made a sacrifice financially to allow Stan Bowman and that management staff to fill the lineup up with his best players possible to surround him with, to give him the best opportunity to win. The window is right now, though, for the Edmonton Oilers. I had a chance to sit down with Stan Bowman, and I said, this has got to be tough. You got to be probably the one team who comes into the season and it's Stanley Cup or bust. No one's going to say it's a great year we got to the final or it's a great year we got to the conference final. If the Leafs go 2 rounds and get into the 3rd round, I think people in Toronto, a large group of the fans will say, okay, they're going in the right direction. When you've been to the Stanley Cup final and lost the last 2 years, it's Stanley Cup or bust. And I think Connor McDavid really wanted to, accentuate that point by saying, I'm ready to make the sacrifices. I'm going to bring everything I can. I see this group around me. I trust this group. And when you look at the group, what did Stan Bowman do, guys? He got rid of 7 players. One thing they all have in common, they're all in their 30s. The Skinners, the Canes, the Perrys, the Arvidssons. They made a point of saying we need to get a little bit younger. And I know that sounds a little bit counterintuitive because last year they added all those guys. They added the Skinners and the Arvidssons. But I think they said, we ran out of gas a little bit. We looked a little bit slow by the final, and we needed to inject a little bit more young energy here. So I'm interested to see what the Oilers can do. Connor McDavid, the one thing I'll say from an Oilers fan standpoint, because there was a bit of chatter, will he leave? I just hope they appreciate, like, we're watching, you know, we played Gretzky, you know, you were in Gretzky's era, Kipper, and I mean, we're watching greatness here. You're watching an all-time great player, and sometimes I think that gets lost in the shuffle. And the fact that Edmonton can now say, well, whatever happens with McDavid in 3 years, you know, we had the first 12 years of his career, you know, in our home rink. They should just be incredibly appreciative and happy about that. And clearly the window is now for Edmonton, and let's see how the dust settles in the next 2 or 3 years. But right now, I still look at the Oilers as maybe the favorite to win the Stanley Cup, and I don't see why we wouldn't. And I know there's goaltending questions and other questions, but I still look at them and say, if the two best players in the world, and you have a pretty good supporting cast, and they've been right there on the precipice, maybe this is the year.
It's also particularly salient, I think, to point out to people to appreciate it, not because like, oh, he's going to leave, but because when you go into a season going, cup is all that matters, you don't want to like not care about the season. There's 7 months of fun hockey ahead, you know, watching these guys, and obviously elite special players. So yeah, the Oilers going to be fun to keep an eye on. Part of the doubleheader you have tonight, Toronto's and Montreal. Wanted to get your thoughts on the Canadians, who set the bar high, got into playoffs, and they're saying they're not running from it, that it's, you know, they expect to be a playoff team, and that's where they're at. Are you concerned for them taking a step back, or do you like them to continue to build with some big additions in Dobson and Bolduc?
I mean, I love the moves they've made. I think Kent Hughes and that manager group have done a wonderful job. You know, and Marc Bergevin deserves some credit as well, because he stockpiled a lot of these draft picks that they've been able to parlay into some of these pieces, trading 2 of them to get Dobson. I'm incredibly excited to see Demidov, right? Like, that to me, he's electric. And all I hear is he's a rink rat. He stayed in Montreal. He trained through the summer. All he cares about is working out and playing hockey. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be really fun to watch. You look at him and Lane Hudson, and they're 2 like hockey nerds, essentially. So you have 2 of the most young, dynamic players in the league. You have Caulfield and Suzuki on the rise. Dobson, of course, looking to have you know, sort of a bounce back season after a tough year on Long Island last year. There's so many good young pieces here, and they're led by a coach with so much energy and such a great way of managing these young players. Where they need to figure things out is defensively, right? They gave up the most 5-on-5 high danger scoring chances in the league last year. You know, Sam Montembeault deserves a lot of credit. If it wasn't for him, you know, the Habs probably wouldn't have made the playoffs. He was that good last year. So I'm excited. They kind of strike me as must-see TV, the Montreal Canadiens. You know, are they going to, you know, have another 90-plus point season and be that team? I don't know. That Atlantic Division is incredibly tough. In fact, the sleeper pick I have, guys, I think we all did our predictions. I haven't actually seen the article come out on sportsnet.ca, but I'm sure I'll kind of turn some heads, because I predict the Ottawa Senators are going to win the Atlantic. I don't know. I'm all in on this Senators team right now.
Huge Allmark fan, eh?
Well, listen, Allmark is a great regular season goalie, and he struggled last year till December, and then he was the best goalie in the league. If you guys remember, from December to mid-January, he was amazing leading up to